ChatGPT for Mac is here. Why that's a problem.
Everyone, welcome to the All Future Podcast. We talk about tech, we talk about AI, we talk about Apple products, Microsoft products, Google products, every single thing you can imagine in the tech world. And more importantly, we try to talk about it in a way that actually lets us have real conversations about how this is going to affect our lives. Lots of news recently, stacked last couple of weeks. One of those things was the GPT for Mac app got launched.
Yeah.
And I used the word launch very loosely because while you can download it, almost no one can actually use it yet.
It seems like mostly for developers at this point.
Almost exclusively for developers, it
Yeah.
would seem is actually what's happening here.
Definitely didn't disclose that fully in their presentation.
They did not.
I was excited to have it the next day. I
downloaded
didn't
it
know.
immediately, and
Yeah.
I was like, "What? Come on, guys!" Yeah, but to be fair, in the presentation, they said starting to roll out. I
Yeah.
believe is the phrasing they used, which is always tech industry speak for we have no idea when you're going to be able to use this.
Could be months.
Yeah, it could be months, if ever, maybe. Because starting to roll out doesn't mean you have to finish rolling out. So
Yeah.
you can just have it out there. But it's here. It's not functional yet for most people. We did get the demo of it from OpenAI, but I think it's interesting right now because you almost have to now talk about it in contrast with what Microsoft just announced with Copilot Plus, their Surface lineup, and what they're doing there. And like as cool as GPT for Mac looked last week, this Copilot integration seems much better.
Yeah, that excitement and the thinking that Mac, I don't know, they had an advantage over Microsoft, that lasted a couple days. Because now we're seeing the Copilot integration, and that's like an actual full integration versus this Mac app that also isn't like fully available yet.
Yeah, so if you have not seen Microsoft's event, I highly recommend watching someone's 2-minute summary of it because there's a lot of fluff in it. You don't need to watch the whole thing. But there's two demos that I really liked and thought were cool. It's the recall feature for you if you've not seen it. Essentially, within Copilot, you can go back through the entire history of everything you've done on your computer since you've had it turned on. And it's literally looking at screenshots. It's taking screenshots of what you're doing and then allowing you to search and reference those things. This seems very useful.
Yeah.
And this is not something that we've seen any hint of from the Apple side yet. Maybe we'll see at WWDC. And then the other demo that I really liked from Microsoft was the help you play Minecraft demo, which is really more of having an AI see your screen in real time and give you actionable information about what's on that screen. Again, when we even see what they previewed with the GPT for Mac app, it was more, I'm taking a screenshot, I'm showing it to the Mac app, it's kind of interpreting what's there and can give me information on that. What you're missing is this kind of like real-time interaction thing, which is what Microsoft demoed. And we talked about this when we talked more about the Microsoft video. I don't think, Microsoft saying, hey, the Surface is 58% better than the MacBook. Cool. I don't think that's going to sell out Surfaces. But if you can say Surface is the only machine that can really have a true AI assistant in existence right now.
And do it on machine.
And do it locally, so it's safer, better, all these kinds of things. You can make these great arguments for the Microsoft side. Apple's got to answer this with something, I think.
Yeah. So then that raises the question, does this devalue new Apple products, at least for right now, compared to these Microsoft products? Because if they're fully going with this OpenAI integration, seems like Apple might have a disadvantage here. It's like, oh yeah, it's integrated, but not really integrated like it is on the Microsoft side with things that can take screenshots across the board. Maybe they can bring that feature, maybe they do, but it definitely is interesting. I don't think Apple's an investor into OpenAI, but Microsoft is. So they're going to have the advantage there versus Apple being a partner. But it depends how big of a partnership this is. Maybe they end up paying Microsoft or paying OpenAI far more than Microsoft ever did. So then they get an advantage. I don't know. We'll see this back and forth. But do you think this devalues Apple products in the meantime?
Are you saying that my brand new 13-inch iPad Pro is worthless now?
I'm not saying anything. I'm asking.
The thinnest device Apple ever made is now total garbage. No, it doesn't devalue anything.
No.
People are still going to love Apple stuff. The other thing is that we are still guessing at what Apple's AI plan is going to be. The OpenAI partnership. Then before that rumor kind of solidified, there's a lot of talk about Gemini. So, and then obviously they are developing in-house stuff as well. So we don't know Apple's AI plan yet.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, oh, like Apple's super behind. Apple could come up with something that blows us away. I will say what Apple is really, really good at doing, even when they're maybe are behind at a technical level, is getting really good at the thing that's going to sell units. And so I think even if maybe Apple's internal LLM they make or their partnership with OpenAI isn't as robust or good as what Microsoft or Google are showing, the thing that they do show, I think, is going to be something that works really well, that gets people excited and gets people to want to upgrade and buy things.
Yeah. And if they manage to use the right lingo that gives us that security angle, which they always seem to do, they are very focused on security and things are secure, but they also have a really good presentation every time about it that convinces you like, oh, this is safety first on this product. So if they can do a really good job there, I think the Microsoft demos were cool, but they weren't really like leading as much with that. It was more like I saw that angle on the CNET post where they asked them directly, Microsoft, well, some people might be scared of this. What do you say to that? And they say, oh, well, it's all on device. It's not leaving your device, versus Apple will probably lead with that and be very clear to, even if it's doing the exact same thing, they'll probably convince us, which kind of goes along with what you're saying. They make it a good marketable feature, a feature that people really want, and they convince you that it's safe all in one swoop.
Yes, absolutely. Here's another question for you. There's a little bit of a hypothetical. Is Apple going to be talking about the safety kind of stuff, how Apple likes to market, the privacy, all these things? Is Apple going to give GPT access to files in the same way that it seems to be happening on the Windows side? And do they need to do that to actually make this thing useful? Like what do you think Apple's going to let GPT see everything that's in Finder, things like that, or you give it permissions or whatever, but even like allow users to decide that?
Well, locally or GPT as in going to the cloud?
Well, at some point you got to go to the cloud to get something useful, right? The best LLMs models in the world still will hit limitations if they're running locally.
I don't know. Yeah, do they make that a really clear permission, kind of like the ask app not to track level type of thing, but also make it very clear that you're not going to get this feature unless you decide to give away this data? Or are they going to just make it happen? I'm not sure. I feel like it would have to be some kind of really clear partnership that they have with OpenAI that's like, we are sharing data, but it's on our own server farm over here. Apple is actually in control of it, even though it's sending it to ChatGPT. That would be my guess of how they angle that.
Which is kind of, if you look at how they kind of talk about Syria a lot, they'll say, oh, it does so much stuff locally, and then when it has to go somewhere, it's Indian encryption, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Like, Apple doesn't even have access to what you're doing. You know, they can say all these things to kind of help sell people on it.
Yeah, because is a file that much worse than me talking, you know, and it listening to me all the time? And I don't know.
And guys, I said this in another video. I would have an assumption that anything you do digitally is not private. Just start with that. Just lead with that in your mind, and then you'll be better off. Because even the best encryption in the world can be cracked. There's leaks and things all the time. There's constant problems with all of this stuff. So you should assume that something you do on digitally can be revealed at some point. But that's a terrible way to market something. Microsoft can't actually come out and say that. It's like, oh, it's just as private as anything else you do online, right? Or something along those lines. But for Apple, who literally has commercials about privacy, you know, they all ended with that cool little Apple logo that has the lock symbol that comes on top. Yeah, they've got to address this in a way that is convincing to people.
Absolutely. I think also that might be a way that people forgive this being quote unquote late. So Microsoft is introducing these features today. It might be another month before we see them unveiled by Apple, some kind of similar AI features. And then after that, it might be a few more months until they actually arrive, maybe a few more months until the iPhone gets all of them or some other product gets all of them, because it actually needs some sort of hardware advantage to run absolutely everything that's on this level. But we've talked about this a lot. In the history of Apple, they're oftentimes not the first one to anything, or actually rarely. You know, the iPad wasn't the first tablet. iPod wasn't the first MP3 player. iPhone wasn't the first smartphone that could technically do everything that it could do. And no one cares at a certain point because they do it differently. And they give us this way that's we actually want it and it's marketable. So I think absolutely we're going to see the same thing here with this stuff, where it doesn't really matter to most people that it's late, because for one, getting people around on these features, no one's tomorrow buying this Microsoft Copilot. Well, not no one, but it's not droves of people going to buy this new Copilot plus PC product. It's people who are experimenting in it and excited about new tech. So then Apple comes around and goes, how can we market this to the average consumer? So any delay there or concern about Apple being late, I don't think is really much of a concern.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're going to come up with a way to sell iPhones. I have no doubt about that. This got me, just while you were talking about this, it got me thinking about the entire model of AI as a business, right? And how you're going to. I was thinking, I was thinking, like, how much money does Apple have to be given to OpenAI to use this stuff? An extreme amount, but if you are, let's say, Apple develops this tech internally, or some kind of local LLMs. Who's going to pay the people to come up with the stuff, right? Like, how are you going to pay these engineers? We just saw the head of safety at OpenAI leaving. Specifically, one of the things he cited is OpenAI is focused too much on shiny products instead of on safety and all these kinds of things. But here's one of those kind of scary dystopian things to think about, right? Is that right now, OpenAI doesn't outlink to things. So ChatGPT, I should say, instead of OpenAI. And if we look at also on these other LLMs and what they do and how they outlink stuff, it's more like, oh, here's a source on that or something like that. It's not like, oh, here's the answer and the link to it. And I think that can maybe get a little scary is that and I'm sure a thing that Apple is concerned with is that marketing being inserted into the AI models, right? And you can think right now, I mean, this can happen super easy is, oh, hey, Ryan's got his water bottle right here. Very nice looking water bottle. Look, I'll hold it up to the camera. There you go. Beautiful water bottle. In the future, as I hold that up, in fact, if you're watching this in the future, go ahead and test this out, because I'm sure this is going to be able to happen. You're going to be able to ask GPT or Gemini or Copilot or whoever, hey, who makes that water bottle?
Yeah.
And right now, if you take a picture of the water bottle, it'll be pretty good probably at tracking down what it is, especially if you can see a logo. But what it doesn't do is an outlink that to the product. And I can see right now, going back to what Apple's thinking and how they're going to maintain privacy and safety and all this, how are you going to do that when you can? Because I'm going to want to be able to ask my AI, built it to my iPhone, what is this thing? Oh, that's the super cool water bottle. And then the next thing I'm going to say is, hey, cool, give me a link so I can buy it. And if it's on the Apple side and it goes, no, I don't provide outside links, I'm going to be like, dang it, Apple, like, why are you limiting my thing? But at the same time, I'm like, this also is instantly giving all the AI selling algorithms what I'm willing to buy, what I'm willing to do. So yeah, that's kind of a weird thing that's probably coming, right?
Yeah, because then they could have some financial incentive to, one, maybe gear you towards a different product. You hold up this water bottle and it's like, that's this water bottle, but a better version is this one. I'll link you to that one instead because we're getting paid.
Exactly, especially if you're getting paid. Like, and you might start getting a thing like you get from Google results where it gives you, oh, here's what it is, here's a link to it, and here's my sponsor result for what it is.
Yeah, there's a lot of sponsored results on Google now.
Yeah, right? So if you're looking at how these things can actually monetize almost immediately in an effective way, this would be a way to do it. I don't think they want to open this Pandora's box anytime soon. But we talk about this all the time. Where's the wall now with the AI, even in these demos? Let's say even what we saw from Copilot yesterday is, it can give me a lot of information. It's really bad on executing things, though. It can't then do an action based on that information. And that's kind of what I want sometimes, right? That's the next stage of it. Like when I say, hey, cool AI, am I out of milk? And it goes, yes, you're out of milk. I know because I monitored the weight of your refrigerator or whatever. I don't know what it's doing to invade my life and know that. But then I want to be able to say, cool, order me milk. And then how does it decide who it orders from? Like what price it gets? How does it, there's all these different things. And all those things are just absolutely open target for marketing, affiliate linking, all this kind of stuff. So there's a fortune to be made in doing that. That might be something too difficult for these companies to resist.
Yeah, the future of it being able to act is really exciting because then we don't have to be the final one doing the action. We ask it to do something, it actually does it for us, which seems way more valuable. But then you have that possible insert that you're mentioning of marketing, companies having an incentive to steer you one direction or the other. And even aside from that, it's just the question of how these things decide what the right answer is for certain things. Who is the one determining that? Is that OpenAI? Does Apple agree with that viewpoint?
Especially with opinion-based kind of things,
Mhm.
right? Like, what is the best water bottle to buy?
Yeah.
Like that's obviously is subjective, but you're going to get to the point, hopefully, where these. I say hopefully. I like. I don't. Maybe this is a little good and bad thing. Where these AIs know you so well, they go, "Hey, Ryan, based on you, this is
Yeah.
the one I think you need."
Because the obvious thing right now is like based on Amazon reviews, this one has the most 5-star reviews
Yeah.
of any water bottle. But we know now how those can be reviews can be gamed. You get a little card with your thing that says we'll give you a
Yeah,
gift certificate if
sure,
you give us
yeah.
a 5-star review and
Yeah.
prove it to us. So yeah, like you're saying, it actually knows you and knows what kind of thing you want. And it's like, well, based on what you've bought in the past, based on what your preferences are, this will be your favorite because it doesn't have any of this material in it.
Well, especially if it has like this super deep multimodal kind of integration stuff, it can go, oh well, this one won't fit in the cup holder in the type of car you have. Like all this kind of stuff. Like it just knows your life really well and knows your environment. It's seeing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Which is again, I think a thing that people are rightfully so a little worried about and the privacy issues there, but it's going to make this stuff really useful. And again, to bring it back to Apple, this is the river they're going to have to cross, right? This is their Rubicon here, is that we are a company that has, especially in recent years, built this reputation of we're the privacy company. They're like, FBI asks us to unlock phones, we say no, we can't even do it, right? Like famously, Apple can't even decrypt their own users' data on their devices. So what's going to happen when a thing is forced to be able to know that much level about you? And at this point, it doesn't seem that that's going to be able to happen fully locally. So they're going to, if they want to make competing products, are they going to have to sacrifice some of their reputation as the privacy tech company?
Yeah, I think more likely, at least in the near future, would be that they sacrifice some of the capability and you're fine with it. And they even clearly talk about like, well, this can do this, but it's taking all your data. It's not as secure as our users over here. And they have some sort of data point that points to that. But I don't know, maybe there will be that kind of thing for a while where Apple is like kind of catching up on certain features and it's because it's doing it more locally or there's a lot more encryption, there's a lot more process that has to go into it versus if you're using just OpenAI, it's like, whatever.
Whatever, screw you can have everything, OpenAI.
So for a second there, we thought Apple had the advantage with the OpenAI Mac app. Now it seems like Microsoft has the advantage. We'll see what happens in a couple weeks at WWDC.
Talk to you guys then.